KULR technology is quietly tapping into a battery gold rush with real partnerships in aerospace, EVs, and defense. While the market seems to be sleeping on this company, they're locking in quite a few deals with NASA level tech and SpaceX. So, is this KULR a buy or a sell? Let's break it down today. Let's also take a look. Stockmate is changing. So, lifetime access to Stockmate is going to be gone after today at its current price. If you want to watch me trade live, it's that second link in the description. The market drops, but there are opportunities to capitalize on that, and this is your shot. So today we're unveiling the new Stockmate systems that are going to be available tonight at 6:30 a.m. Sorry, 6:30 p.m. I'm so used to saying a.m. 6:30 p.m. today. So if you want to see those systems revealed, just check out the YouTube channel. We'll be doing it. So KULR is down about 3.5% today. We saw it push down to this support, wondering if it's validating that. It's bouncing there. We do see obviously the wider spread market sell off today as a result of tariffs, which we've covered a little bit. But here's what we're looking at with KULR. If we start to see this recovery right here, this level could be where it gets rejected at $1.50 as it's been a previous support. So the technicals right now seem to be consolidating from left to right. And if we're going to see momentum build, right now is the time. Yes, we could see consolidate left to right a little bit longer, but I think this move up here is what we would need to see for it to sustain some momentum still. Otherwise, we're just going to see this thing sell off and it's going to lose all and complete momentum and most likely struggle through a bear market. So we have to see that it does validate the support, that it can hold it, and that's what it would look like for KULR on the technical side of things. Right now, obviously, it is starting to break a little bit here at this EMA. So if we start to see that divergence continue, that MACD starting to look like it's crossing over, RSI starting to build momentum even when the stock is going down. If that holds true and we start to see it reverse, this would be the move that we'd be looking at, about 20 to 40% there. Of course, the previous highs would be like a 5x return, but that's very aggressive. So we just want to see this move here to see how it capitalizes on the recent support level. KULR is in the space industry. If you go to their company, check out what they're offering now. You have safe, high-performance energy storage solutions. They specialize in carbon composite makeup for their battery tech, and they have partnerships with companies like drumroll, and NASA, Molicel, Serba Solutions, Lockheed Martin there, as well as Department of Transportation and Federal Aviation. Their products have been getting some traction, especially their KULR One series, as they have those partnerships with NASA. They are NASA grade batteries. Not only are they doing the thermal solutions and that they have these cases for the batteries, total battery thermal runway and propagation containment for storage transportation. So making it so that these batteries maybe can stay, more thermal resistant. And they have some solutions here as well, which is quite interesting. But they also have this big factor with KULR, which is their profits and their financials. If you take a look at KULR stock and you see the market cap at 350 million, there's a lot of hype. If you go to the articles, there's so many hype articles every few hours. Overvalued Bitcoin play, you gotta sell. Someone else here is like, the stock skyrocketed, or this is a millionaire maker. You gotta watch out for those things. I don't look at those. You guys know we go directly to the source. The technical side of things looks like it's at a critical level that we want to see this recovery hold. Otherwise, it will just look like it pumped and it's going to be continuing to dump. But if we start to see this level validate and it starts to recover, then that would be indication that it's not just something that's going to dump, but it's going to hold, and that this tech is bullish into 2025. Now, space tech, it's kind of like the least of a lot of companies' worries. A lot of or the least of the government's worries. What are they focusing on now? Well, just general consumer spending. making sure that there's jobs, infrastructure building. I mean, talk about AI. How about we talk about, oil and gas, or making sure automotive doesn't collapse? There's things like that that the government is eyeing, and a lot of companies are eyeing. But if they are in a unique position to continue to get their contracts, and they're in a position where they have these partnerships that are happening with NASA, and I think they got Navy as well as Army, and they're working with U.S. manufacturing there as well. And they recently moved to Texas, so they're right there near the companies. They also got that SpaceX mission coming up. So if you look at the partnerships, they look pretty good. So again, technicals, kind of a crucial level that we want to see it bounce here, and it would be quite important to see this dollar range get validated. The financials side of things, this is where it starts to look not so bad. So again, year over year, check that net income, -5 million, -5.8, and then -2 million. So improving net income. They met and beat their revenue by 17% here and they reported about 3.3 million. So they increased their revenue as well in Q4. So the financials are increasing in revenue. The piece with their news, it looks good. The other news that doesn't look so good recently, but could look good long term, is their Bitcoin holdings. They have 90% of their cash in Bitcoin as opposed to the US dollar. And if you look at Bitcoin as of recently, there isn't any indication right now that it's not going to be rocky for Bitcoin. It's kind of like dropping. You can kind of see the trend. Maybe it holds this $81,000 level. And speaking of which, if you ever want really up-to-date looks at crypto, we have StockMate here where we cover AI, quantum, tech, cover the space companies, and what emerging technological companies you want to look at here, and the ones that will make you the most money. But we also have CryptoMate. So if you ever were curious about, for example, CryptoMate, you can always head over here to CryptoMate, where we get coverage from Ace Green at CryptoMate. He is in the Bitcoin, the XRP, the Ethereum conversation, what's going on with XLM, what's going on with Swift. How is that happening? Is there more opportunities? And we just recently launched this channel. It's growing extremely fast for how little amount of videos it has. So if you want to check it out, Ace Green, CryptoMate, it's the third link in the description down below. So when we're looking at the growth of Bitcoin, it's consolidating on the support at 81K. And if you want more Bitcoin analysis, head over there. But what I'll say is long term, it looks good. Near term, there's expected volatility. There's not full indication of a recovery just yet. Although if we back Bitcoin up, just to a simple one-day chart, it has been consolidating at this 200-day moving average, which if it bounces there would be quite bullish. And so you got to keep that in mind. Now, when you go to KULR and you're asking yourself, okay, the financials, they look pretty good. Why is he bringing up Bitcoin? Well, 90% of their cash is in Bitcoin. So they have about, let's see what their total Bitcoin holdings are. They're about 90% of cash. If we click on Bitcoin over here, let's click in the top right. You can see their total holdings, I believe, is in the $60 million to $70 million holdings. They actually don't specify there, but we could go back, look at all of their articles, and you'll see they have about $60 to $70 million in Bitcoin. So essentially, if Bitcoin goes up by 1,000, they make almost $1 million. Okay, if it goes down by 1,000, they lose almost $1 million. They're almost to that point where they have the 80 million Bitcoins or $80 million in Bitcoin. So the fluctuations are going to be fairly tied to their financials, which is volatile, but might pay off big in the future, which is why they have some cutting edge, whether it's for their benefit or for their demise, a cutting edge approach to the financials that could pay off. And so that's something you got to consider. I mean, they're very adamant about it, about their strategy, and they're continuing to work with government contracts as well as, and speaking of government, you might say, it seems pretty risky for a company that works with government. Well, recently, Federal Reserve deemed Bitcoin as digital gold, the equivalent of gold. It's an asset class. It's surpassed silver in its market cap, and they also have a resilient architecture compared to gold. They even draw some comparisons for kind of what they're looking at, as well as the institutional adoption from Bitcoin as well. So keep that in mind. When it comes to the levels here, again, we're going to see if it holds KULR. It's at a support similar to how Bitcoin is actually right now. See, take this look. So it's at this level where potentially it's bouncing. And if it does, then that would indicate a really nice buying opportunity. We know that the upside's huge. The downside can be just as big. The risk looks like less risk, but with the market conditions the way they are, it's possible that it doesn't hold this support. And we want to make sure that we're getting into something that does have potential. And right now, there's no indication that it's continuing up. It's getting rejected by this EMA. It's approaching the support, but it's getting rejected. See that blue line? It hasn't broken above the EMA, that 15-day moving average, or the 200-day moving average, the simple moving average. And so you want to see breaks above both of those to indicate bullish momentum. However, if you look just on the long-term, view of where it is, it looks like it's just getting this attention. Did it pump? Yes. Is it down? Of course. But when you look at just kind of where it's how it's built itself from 10 cents up to over $1 now, it is long-term gaining some value. That is something that you have to pay attention to. So KULR is one we're going to watch closely. If you guys would like to watch this trade live, it's the second link below. And do consider subscribing. If I earned your thumbs up, hit that like button. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.